Good afternoon and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we have an update in regards to the copyright claim leveled at this channel. It was pertaining to Continental Championship Wrestling. In an effort to be fair, we have received an additional claim from a third party who is unwilling to be identified. This unverified claim maintains that the Tennessee Stud was not involved in the copyright incidents. Our decision to remove Continental Championship Wrestling Series will stand due to the copyright claim. Our position remains steadfast. No compensation for the participants and their families is unacceptable. We stand with the wrestlers, referee, and announcers. They are entitled to be compensated for any profits generated from their images and performances. Furthermore, I have learned through the grapevine, I have been made aware that the Tennessee Stud is upset with me over a comment I had made in a previous episode. At no time would I intentionally seek to hurt his feelings. If I did offend, I formally and humbly apologize for those remarks. I do so with all humility and sincerity and hope he will accept my apology.
And welcome to the Wrestling Conversation. This is Pro Wrestling Inside Out Live, and we are going to be talking about a lot of wrestlers on this program. But right now, I am back from vacation. How you doing, Jack Lord? How you doing, Rodney West?
Doing just fine. I just want to let you know, Jack said awful and terrible things about you.
Well,
I did. Yeah.
You know, I was actually listen. Don't feel anybody feel like, hey, he went to vacation. He had a great time. I met Sally while I was there.
Yes.
Sally was very nice. Was very mean. Was very windy while I was there. And
that's what you get.
Yes, that's what I get. Hurricane Sally, just the end of it. About a 65-mile-per-hour winds was going on while we were there. Tornadoes all night on Tuesday. It was horrible. It was just a horrible time. So, Sally, I don't ever want to see you again.
Okay.
I don't ever want to see Sally ever again. I think now we're on Beta. I think Beta's out there at this point. So
Beta's. Well, there's two headed for the coast there. So,
well, folks. It is time for us to talk about the professional wrestlers. And a lot of people will notice they have a lot of Memphis. All of them are from Memphis wrestling. Let's talk right now about Eddie Gilbert. Eddie Gilbert, one of the greatest wrestlers to ever put on a pair of tights. The man was smart. He had the ability, and he was good from the beginning. And I think, Jack, you got some of his matches, and I'll try to pull up some photographs while we're talking.
All right, let's go ahead and get started here. April 20th, 1979 in Huntington, Tennessee. Eddie Gilbert defeats Jerry Bryant in 12 minutes and 33 seconds. April 27th, 79 at the Jackson Coliseum in Jackson, Tennessee. Hans Schroeder.
We just had a couple of different stuff that just head up. I just hit stuff and put it all over the place. I wasn't supposed to put it up in, so that's fine. So you just go ahead. We'll
Okay. Hans Schroeder versus Tommy Gilbert Jr. There's a few things maybe we can. Educate me on how long.
So in the beginning, he was not Eddie. He was actually Tommy Gilbert Jr. Is that right?
Well, it's got him as Eddie on the very first match, but then Tommy Gilbert Jr. after that, and that doesn't last very long, just until June of that year.
Well, Eddie is from Huntington, Tennessee. So one of his first matches was against this Jerry Bryant, and actually Jerry Bryant, from what I've been told, by several people. Jerry Bryant was supposed to go over in that match. But because Eddie was from there and because he wanted to be called Eddie Gilbert in his hometown in his first match, Jerry Bryant put him over instead of going over. He said, no, you've got to go over. This is your hometown. His mother, his whole family was there. Now, that is a great person. You have to.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Here's a young pitcher.
Oh, my.
Here's a young pitcher.
Oh, wow.
Of Eddie Gilbert. I got some more if I can find out how to actually put them on here and without. All right, go ahead.
Okay. May 28th, 79, Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis, Tennessee. Ron Bass defeated Tommy Gilbert Jr. June 1st, 79, Sports Arena in Tupelo, Mississippi. Tommy Gilbert Jr. defeated Larry Latham. And then also on that card, Larry Latham and Wayne Ferris defeated Tommy Gilbert Jr. and Tommy Gilbert Sr. June 4th, 79, Mid-South Coliseum. I'm sorry, that other one was at the Sports Arena in Tupelo. Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Wayne Ferris and Larry Latham versus Tommy Gilbert and Tommy Gilbert Jr. ended with a no winner time limit draw. June the 8th, 1979, at the Sports Arena in Tupelo, Mississippi. Danny Davis, the only 5-star sergeant in the Army, by the way, and Gorgeous George Jr. versus Tommy Gilbert and Tommy Gilbert Jr. No win. We don't have a record of who won or lost there. June 9th, 79, American Legion Arena in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Wayne Ferris and Larry Latham defeated Tommy Gilbert Jr. and Tommy Gilbert in a Texas Tornado death match. June the 11th, 79, Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. Larry Latham and Wayne Ferris defeated Tommy Gilbert and Tommy Gilbert Jr. June the 15th, Sports Arena in Tupelo. Rick Oliver and Danny Davis ended without a winner in a no contest 2 out of 3 falls match. So now we're to Eddie. We've passed by Tommy Gilbert Jr. June the 18th, 79, Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis, Tennessee. Ken Wayne defeated Eddie Gilbert. June the 23rd, American Legion Arena in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Wayne Ferris, Larry Latham, and tagging with their manager Danny Davis versus Jerry Lawler, Tommy Gilbert, and Eddie Gilbert. Winner unknown, 2 out of 3 falls match. June the 25th, 79, Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis, Tennessee. Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Gilbert defeated Buddy Wayne and Ken Wayne. June the 30th, Oxford, Mississippi. Eddie Gilbert defeated Gestapo. July the 6th, 79, Sports Arena, Tupelo. Eddie Gilbert, Tommy Gilbert, and Eddie Marlin defeated Buddy Wayne, Ken Wayne, and Danny Davis by disqualification. July 16th, 79, Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. Randy Tyler and Eddie Gilbert defeated Hans Schroeder and Gestapo. July 21st, 79, American Legion Arena in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Eddie Gilbert versus Kenny Wayne ended without a winner at a time limit draw at 15 minutes. July 21st, 79, American Legion Arena in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Again, I guess, well, that was 2 matches he worked that night. Tommy Gilbert, Eddie Gilbert, Bill Dundee, and Eddie Marlin defeated the Destroyer, Buddy Wayne, Ken Wayne, and the Hangman in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I got a feeling that was a short card. July 21st, again, well, this was at the TV tapings in Memphis. Tommy Gilbert and Eddie Gilbert defeated Larry Latham and Wayne Ferris by disqualification. And July 23rd, Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, Ricky Morton and Eddie Gilbert defeated Ken Wayne and the Hangman.
You know, when you look at these matches, Eddie was put, because this was during the time that Robert Fuller left, took all the talent back to Knoxville, and so they were left needing wrestlers. So Eddie Gilbert and Ricky Morton and Ken Wayne all got the push at this point
Yep.
And I mean, he's on main event matches with Larry Lathan and Wayne Ferris as the Blonde Bomber with Sergeant Day. That's what I think was some of the greatest stuff during that time period. It was great stuff for that. Let's go back and look at some of these pictures. And here's Eddie Gilbert. About that time, it could be a little bit after that, but here's Tommy and Eddie Gilbert together during this day. It was during this time period. Here is Ken Wayne against Eddie Gilbert from this time.
That's an awesome picture. Yeah. That is an awesome picture.
Here is a photograph of Eddie. I don't know where that is. Somebody might know exactly where this photograph was taken. I don't. He never really was in that area, in the Memphis area, so somebody might know. But you can see a very young Eddie Gilbert. And here's a photograph that has Eddie Gilbert, Doug, and Tommy Gilbert, all in the same same photograph there. And here's a very young picture of Eddie Gilbert as well, probably during this time period. Here is from I guess this was from their program. And so you see Tommy and Eddie, and they drew good houses with these matches. They were drawing great houses with this. Here's a picture of Eddie Gilbert that was inside the wrestling magazine, one of the magazines. You got a great little story on Eddie Gilbert. So, and this is another one that he did. A guy named Roger Dean is the one that did these stories on Eddie Gilbert. And then we saw this picture of him while we was talking. A great picture. Let's go look at a card that he was a part of. Jarrett Welch Wrestling presents Wrestling Monday, August 27th, the Mid-South Coliseum. AWA World Heavyweight Title match. Jerry Lawler against Nick Blockwinkel. Southern Heavyweight Title match. Ron Bass with Sonny King. I didn't really realize Sonny King ever managed in Memphis.
Yeah, he's big time there.
Against Bill Dundee. Terry Gordy and Michael Hayes against Steve Regal and Ricky Morton. Southern Tag Team Title match. Wayne Ferris and Larry Lathan with Sergeant Danny Davis against the Hulk, which is Hulk Hogan, Tommy Gilbert. And Buddy and Ken Wayne against Dallas Montgomery and Eddie Gilbert. I don't remember a Dallas Montgomery.
No.
I don't remember him either.
I don't know that I ever remember that guy. But
he probably got that infamous Memphis payoff and quit.
That's possible, yeah.
Jerry Jarrett presents Professional Wrestling Louisville Gardens Tuesday, June 19th, 1979. The main event, a 19-man triple chance battle royal, $5,000 to the winner. They wasn't giving a lot of money for the winners back then, were they?
Well, with those ticket prices, you can't. $4.50 and $4, $2 for kids, children under 5.
This is true. Southern Tag Team Title match. Hans Schroeder in that. What did you say that was, Jack?
The Gestapo.
The Gestapo. Against Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. Larry Lathan and Wayne Ferris against Tommy Gilbert. And there he is, Tommy Gilbert Jr.
Yeah.
He had not been changed to Eddie Gilbert yet. Bass must body slam Frazier in 15 minutes to win match. Ron Bass against Plowboy Frazier. I'm having a feeling Ron Bass didn't slam Plowboy Frazier. Pete Austin against there's that Dallas Montgomery again. And Steve Regal, not WCW Steve Regal, but another Steve Regal. That was a great wrestler. Great wrestler. Yeah,
Glenn Shelton noticed the same thing. In Memphis card, they had AWA, and Louisville, they had NWA.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, Glenn Shelton. I noticed it, but Glenn noticed it as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So AWA for that one. Go back to that again. So that was in August, and the other one was when?
This one is in June.
Yeah. So we're talking just months apart. So yeah.
Wow.
AWA in one place, AWA in the other.
Pro Wrestling, National Guard Armory, Danville, Kentucky, Thursday night. Main event, 6-man tag match. Best 2 out of 3 falls. There's that Dallas Montgomery again. Eddie Gilbert.
Yeah, he's tagging now.
Yeah, he's a tag match with all 3 of them against Wayne Ferris, Larry Lathan, and Danny Davis. Ken Wayne against Coco Ware. Wayne Ferris against Tommy Gilbert. Danny Davis against Eddie Gilbert, Larry Lathan. Hey, that's one of them cards where you had to work 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
Adults was $5, children under 12, $3, and that is just the beginning of Eddie Gilbert's career. And we will in the future go back to it, but we wanted to at least Eddie Gilbert. Any comments about Eddie Gilbert? before we move on?
No, I just, Eddie left us far too soon. What an amazing talent he was. Just simply amazing. When he was in WCW, he had some of the most amazing matches. And that was his first national exposure. And now he was in WWF, early in his career, but that didn't last very long.
No, I think he had a car accident while he was there.
He did.
Yeah, he was a natural. He was a natural. He came to Georgia, and all we could see is the next Tommy Rich. That was what we saw. He kind of wrestled like Tommy. He had the looks. He brought the jackets, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, that's the first thing we saw. He's the next Tommy Rich.
Well, we will get back to the second part of Eddie Gilbert, but right now it's time to go see what the insiders have to say on this program. Let's go all the way to the top. Michael Barr, hello from Southeast Alabama. Kevin Barkwell, good evening, guys. There's old Retro Rob. I've missed it. While I was gone, did he have any good jokes or anything while I wasn't?
No, he was perfectly quiet. Rob was on his best behavior the whole time you were gone.
Well, all right. Now I think he was one of the folks that came in late that had that $50 fine, though. We don't know if we ever received that. How you doing, Retro Rob? Thank you.
Where do you think this cigar comes?
Oh, there you go. Thank you so much, Rob, for being a part of the show. Jeremy Travis, good evening from Lawton, Oklahoma.
Hey, Jeremy.
Stuart, I'm glad you missed us because Rodney and Jack said he didn't miss me at all.
Yeah.
I don't recall you being gone.
Yeah.
Were you gone?
Well, every time I hit that, there's something going on. Every time I hit that button,
We're not doing this. We're moving in and out, That's good.
Hope you enjoyed your vacation. Michael, no, not so much. No, not so much. Sally messed up the whole thing. Yeah, for some reason we're blinking up and down every time we go. I don't know what's going on there. We're just giving everybody a show tonight. That's your little laser show or something going on. Eddie Gilbert, what a talent! Another what if in wrestling. Oh, that's true. Man, he had the ability. There's no doubt he had the ability. Let's see. Doug Masters, great work, guys. Thank you so much, Doug. Dr. Philbo Hayes, quit doing that. So maybe we just had a little bit of glitch. Dr. Philbo Grice said, hello, professors and esteemed gurus of wrestling wisdom. I'm going to tell you, I'm liking this Dr. Philbo. We're going to have to start paying him if he keeps on. Richard Hood, good evening, guys. Hello, Michael Barr. Eddie Gilbert was a great worker. Let's see. Michael Thibodeau, Eddie Gilbert did the same thing regarding Jerry Lawler that Dick Slater did in regards to Beck. You can see a lot of King in Eddie's matches.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's later. I think later on for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was,
he patterned his interview style was patterned after Lawler. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. That is great. Because Lawler knew exactly what he was doing.
Yes, Jerry Lawler did. And we'll be talking about Jerry Lawler coming up. A very interesting start of his career that I will if you've not heard it before, it's a very interesting story. Richard Hood, Eddie Gilbert was a great worker. And Booker, great ideals. He had some great ideals, no doubt. Michael Barr asked, where did Wayne Ferris get his start in pro wrestling? Jack, do you know?
Pretty sure it's that Memphis area. He and Lawler are cousins. So you would, I'm pretty confident that's where he got his start.
I do know that evidently he does not like his cousin. I've heard his interviews on that thing. Boy, whew.
Well, I like Jerry Lawler, and I'll leave it at that.
Michael Thibodeau, poor Tommy Gilbert busted his butt in the ring for his kid, and the kid's favorite wrestler is Tommy's boss. There is some truth into that. Let's see. Let's move on to that. There's a lot to that. Mike Schaefer says, listening in Bama. Glenn Allen Shelton said, rest in peace, Larry, Tommy, and Eddie. All a great group. Eddie Marlin, we'll have to do a show on him. What a legend he was in that area.
Yeah.
Glenn Allen Shelton said the concession stand brawl. I think they were part of the second concession stand brawl.
Yeah.
And I was it Eddie Gilbert and Ricky Morton?
May have been.
Against the Japanese team, whatever they were.
Yeah.
Kevin said, was the car accident Eddie had up north, didn't he run into the back of a truck? I don't know.
I don't remember what the circumstance were. I just remember he had an accident.
And he broke his neck, right? And his back?
Yeah.
Because I know they were just giving him a push in WWF. I mean, he was just getting that little push. Yep. And I think he would have got a huge push there because they were on their way. Somebody asked about AEW. Does anybody want to answer that? Because I don't watch it.
Let me find the question. I know this is off subject, but how golden would it be if AEW picked up Hornswoggle and have a Hornswoggle versus Marco Stunt match? I'd definitely tune in for that match, and I definitely would not. So
I don't know.
They're not going to bring Hornswoggle in because he's taller than Marco Stunt. I'm just kidding. Honestly, I watched AEW last week for the first time since it's been on. I enjoyed the whole show. I'll give them props. It was good.
Glenn Allen was saying this is when it was both AWA and NWA. Richard Hood said the Gilbert and Wayne angle was great in Memphis back in '79. Father and son versus father and son. Yes, it's on YouTube. Go watch it. Tremendous. Buddy Wayne. Nobody better on the mic than Buddy Wayne. He was tremendous he was a tremendous man.
Is that the one where Tommy goes up there and calls him fat boy? Is that the one? You don't call me fat. That is priceless. That is awesome.
And of course, Kenny Wayne. Wayne was probably still one of my top 5 guys that I ever wrestled against. I love being in the ring with Kenny.
Tremendous athlete. Michael Barr said, when did Nightmare and Danny Davis begin tag teaming with Ken Wayne? 1983, maybe?
Maybe. Sounds about right.
About right.
And at first, they were the Galaxians, I believe.
Yep.
I don't think they were the Nightmares at first. And I think they were managed by James E. Cornette. Maybe in one of his first people he managed. I think Sherry Martel might have been his first person he managed.
Yeah.
And tried to manage Dutch Mantell, if I remember on television correctly. And I think Dutch might have turned them down. For sure.
That was great stuff. That was good stuff.
Oh, Tim LaFontaine. I'm back, guys. Did you miss me? Yes, we missed you. Tim, I was gone last week, so I didn't know you was gone. Did y'all know he was gone?
I don't know. I talked to Tim just about every day on Facebook, so I didn't miss him.
I believe he was with us at least one day last week, I think.
Let's see. Rick Brooks said, only recall seeing Eddie Gilbert one time in Cincinnati. My son got his autograph that night. Now, Chris said Dallas Montgomery was a good wrestler. I'm gonna have to go look this guy up.
Yeah, I have no memory of him.
I don't either, but that's all right. I don't have a lot of memory of a lot of things. Mid-America was NWA Southern AWA. So I guess they just called it something else. I said Douglas Taylor said, I started watching wrestling with a young Eddie Gilbert in the WWF and Rick McGraw. Good memories. Yep. That's right. They teamed them up for a while, didn't they?
Yep.
And I believe they were going. I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe they were getting them ready for a WWF tag team title run because they were pushing them really heavy. I forgot about that until Douglas said something about them. So, all right, we'll get back to everybody. Just keep on sending your comments and your questions in. But right now, we need to start talking about superstar Bill Dundee. 1975, he comes to this country from Australia, and him and a guy named George Barnes come over. And at first, Bill Dundee told me, he said, we came over, we had the kilts on, we had the whole thing, and they said, wait a minute, you're not from Scotland, you're from Australia. He said, no, I'm from Scotland. I was wrestling in Australia, but I'm from Scotland. He said, so we wear the kilts. And he said, no, we said you was Australians. He says, you got to be an Australian. You can't be a Scotsman. So he had to take the kilt off, and then he had to become. But the matches, Jack, have you ever seen a Bill Dundee George Barnes match?
I have.
Brought something completely different to that Memphis territory, don't y'all think?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely they did.
The bumps they would take. Because, you think about it. Back then, they had Don and Al Green, great wrestlers, but they didn't take all these bumps. But, boy, they would take the bumps outside the ring. They'd take the bumps over the top rope. I mean, just tremendous stuff. And then George Barnes decides, I don't really like America. I want to go back to Australia or Scotland, wherever he was at. And he leaves Bill Dundee here. Miss Jarrett says, listen, Christine Jarrett says he's got to be a babyface. Bill didn't want to be one. He said, no, I don't want to be a babyface. I want to be a heel. But you know what? I think she had the right idea because Bill had that look. Don't y'all agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did.
Probably he's probably a better looking than what they had there at the time. And it was a smart idea. They turn him, and he has the feud with Jerry Lawler. His first feud with Jerry Lawler almost sells out that Mid-South Coliseum. I would say 8 times. 8 times they shave his wife's hair. They shave, and this whole thing go back and forth. They're shaving each other's hair, and they're shaving some other guys. I can't remember. Do y'all remember the guy they shaved his hair too? He was like just some local guy in Memphis.
I don't remember his name, but I remember what you're talking about.
Maybe somebody will remember his name. I can't remember his name off, but they shaved his head. Memories of Bill Dundee, Jack. Do you have any just something that just stands out?
Oh well, I had personal stuff with Bill that I loved. I always loved watching Bill wrestle. I remember when he took over as booker for Continental, and I had been there for several months, and your dad came to me and he said, well, Bill's a new booker. You got to go in there and talk to him, make sure he wants to keep you on. So I go in and I knock on the door, and he motioned me to come on in the locker room, and he pointed to a chair right across from him, and he's writing in his book, the whole time that I'm coming in, and I sit down and I wait for him to get done, and he sets his book down on his bag. Well, while he's in the process of doing that, he had a pistol laying right on top, and he knocked it off, and it slid right up between my feet. And I looked down at the pistol, and I looked up at Bill, and he looked down at the pistol, and he looked up at me, and I said, Bill, are you shooting on me? and he picked his book back up, and he said, yeah, I'm going to make a spot for you. So, yeah. And I will add, I watched Jerry Lawler's interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin recently. It's on the WWE Network. Well worth the watch, by the way. And he asked him about Bill Dundee and, were they friends and stuff. And Jerry said, no, they never really were friends. That he didn't drink and party and stuff. And, Bill did. And he said, so we didn't associate outside of business. He said, but when it was time to do business, he said, we done great business together. He said, I always enjoyed being in there with him. But he said, outside the ring, no, we didn't have any kind of relationship. So,
Rodney, any?
First time I remember Bill Dundee is when Jarrett and Goulas split. And so Jarrett was playing his TV show at 11:30 on Channel 3. And, of course, Nick's was still on Channel 12. And then Georgia Championship Wrestling comes on later in the day. This was on Sunday, but they moved it to 1:30 on Saturday. But anyway, that was the first time we saw him. And the first time we saw him was the concession stand brawl with him, Lawler, and the Blonde Bombers, and it was awesome. It was awesome. And they actually came to Chattanooga, and with that match, I'm not sure how they did. They come on a Thursday night, and our grandmother loved Bill Dundee. That was one of our favorite wrestlers, and Bill was one of a kind. The charisma, nobody could duplicate. Bobby Fulton tried, but he didn't quite duplicate it. So, but yeah, she loved that little shimmy or whatever he called that he would do. He said, I like it. He's quite comical. Yeah, Bill's been is great, and his ability to get over what he wants comes. It looks like it's just natural. He has no trouble with it. He does it flawlessly, whether it's putting somebody over or opposite. He makes people look like $1 million, and that is a gift. That is a skill learned, and he's the best. He really is the best at it.
The first time we ever met Bill Dundee was 1983 when he did the Championship Wrestling Superstars of Championship Wrestling, the Georgia Championship Wrestling Superstars. And I remember sitting with Bill, and we learned a lot about booking during that time, about how the booking was. And he'd open his book up, and it'd be 12 weeks, and he'd have, all right, we're going to have it on this 12th week, we're going to have well, I think it was one of the whipping matches with Dutch Mantell and him. That was going to be the end. That was going to be the end of this. It was going to be a bull rope match, and a bull rope match. I think it was on the pole. It might have been just around the ring. Whoever fell off first.
They took the ropes down, and that pow, and he was practicing with that whip. You can hear
that was going to be the end. And I can remember looking at his book, going, "Oh, man, this makes sense." And then you could look at all his books, and you see it always back how he's getting there, how he was going to get there. And I was thinking, learned a lot from Bill Dundee. As far as booking, learned so much from Bill Dundee. The same thing with Bob Armstrong. Learned a lot from him in booking processes, but there was nobody any smarter than Bill Dundee when it came to booking, especially a weekly territory. He knew what he was doing, and then his wrestling was so good. If one of the things that I remember more about Bill Dundee, because we never really saw the Jerry Lawler Bill Dundee matches until Bill Dundee was working in the territory in 1989, and he would bring his tapes and he would set them in, and we started watching these matches with Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. These matches wasn't 5-star matches; they were 10-star matches. That's how good these matches was between Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. They were connecting with each other. They were. I mean, it was just It really was some of the best matches if you've not seen it.
Bill said he was beating each other to death.
Yeah.
Just tremendous amount of matches, and Bill Dundee deserves the respect. He deserves to be. WWE should put him in the Hall of Fame. I don't know that he'd even do it, but he deserves to be there. Bill Dundee, one of the greatest wrestlers, greatest bookers this business has ever seen, and so he deserves to be there. I can't say anything that just Bill Dundee's a superb, and he is a superb man and a superb person. Any closing comments before we go on and talk about another wrestler?
Well, I'm ready. Whenever you're ready.
Well, I guess before we do so, we need to go back and look at our insiders to see exactly what they have to say. I don't remember if I remember where I was at, but we'll start right here with Kevin Finley. Kevin Finley said Eddie's favorite wrestler was Jerry Lawler. Les Martin said, ever watch the rehab video he did with Bob Backlund? The one that Eddie Gilbert. Did y'all ever see that?
I did, but that was years ago. Yeah.
Retro Rob said, Brent, I hope my late fines came in handy on your vacation.
Yes.
It did. I bought some ropes and tied myself down so I wouldn't fly away. Jean Magdalene said, good evening and enjoy your show. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate everyone who comes on our program and is a part of it. And we get a lot of likes and stuff on our posts, and we really, truly appreciate everyone who was a part of our show. Glenn Allen Shelton said, lost too many too soon.
Absolutely.
So many of them. Daniel Lang said, I liked Eddie and Kurt Hennig as a young team in WWF. Let's see. Jeremy Travis said, I've always heard that Honky Tonk Man hatred for Jerry Lawler was a work. Could have been.
Yeah,
it's a good work, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was there was some questionable names called when Honky Tonk Man and Wayne Ferris and Jimmy Valiant. I don't know if anybody's seen that. Would never got showed today. and Valiant and Wayne Ferris were kind of partners, and he was saying, I don't know, what is this, Duke? You've got your hair all blonde up and an earring in your ear. You're going to turn out just like he is. I'm not going to say what he said, but yeah, that was some rough stuff.
It was some rough stuff.
They wouldn't get away with that today, I'm afraid.
No, I don't think so. Gary Allen Shelton said Lawler doing his 50th show at the Jackson Ballpark in Jackson, Tennessee. This Saturday.
This coming Saturday.
All
It's
right.
huge. It's going to be huge.
So, folks, get out USA Wrestling at the Jackson Ballpark in Jackson, Tennessee this Saturday. Go see Jerry the King Lawler, his 50th show.
Yeah.
Now, does it say the 50th show at the Jackson?
It is his 50th anniversary in wrestling is this year.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
I think Stewart was saying something about that earlier in his comments.
All right, let's go back up and check Stuart's out because I want to. Stuart Kemp said, I saw the topic, looking forward to this weekend. First time ever in Tennessee, and this show will be the 50th anniversary of Jerry Lawler in Jackson, Tennessee, September the 26th. Overall, they didn't need the biggest people, but they always had large-than-life wrestlers. On the show, Burt Prince has a great mix of both young and old schedule and show. Last I heard, it's close to being sold out with social distancing masks worn.
Yep.
Well, maybe if you didn't get your tickets, you're not going to get to go.
Well, I'd call and check because if there's available, you should go. This is a huge deal, huge show.
Jerry Lawler, spectacular wrestler too, and we're about to talk about him. And Jimmy Hart will be first, but we'll stole a lot of things from Jimmy Hart. A lot of his stuff that he said there throughout the years. I always loved some of the stuff he said. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Michael Tebow said, I think it might be Pensacola where first broke in.
It's possible.
I know he wrestled there, but I'll look on that and see when I can find one of his first matches. And, could Eddie be world champion? Could he be world champion?
Yeah, I would think so. He certainly had the ability. He could work heel or baby. He could talk. Boy, he could talk, and he could back it up. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Michael Halton's come on. Cheers to all. How you doing, Michael? Michael Thibodeau said, I think Eddie's accident was fed into his match with the Masked Superstar. He used a neck breaker back then in the WWF.
That's right.
That's right.
Sergeant Slaughter was using the Cobra.
David Bai said, got to meet Bill Dundee last year.
Wow.
Bill Dundee, great guy. So Jeremy Travis said, wasn't Buddy Wayne Kamala's original handler?
We think so. Think so, yeah.
Let's see here. Mickey Mayfield. Why did Memphis have so many copycat wrestlers?
They were making fun of people.
Yeah.
They were just making fun of people. They making fun of Dusty. They made fun of Ron Bass. Kamala too was one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites. Of course, Kamala was there too. That was crazy. That was.
Richard Hood, Eddie Gilbert was booking in Puerto Rico with Dutch Mantel. Richard said Randy Savage almost got shot by Bill Dundee. Yes, that's an interesting story.
Me and Randy, it's both of us together.
Let's see. Kevin Finley, do you remember when Eddie slapped Willie B. Hurt's kid on Continental TV? Oh, yes, we remember that very well.
Yeah, we remember that.
Got a lot of telephone calls about that.
Yeah, TV stations didn't like that too much.
No. About lost some TV stations over that. Almost all of them, by the way. Had to do a lot of kissing up to keep that stuff on the air.
Had to make some in-person visits, especially Birmingham. They were not happy.
No. Hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert. Well, while we're talking about Eddie Gilbert right now, he's not hot stuff yet. The beginning of the disease, he's not the hot stuff yet, but we'll talk about when he gets to being hot stuff Eddie Gilbert and uses the who was it Donna Summers?
Donna Summers, yeah.
Michael Thibodeau said, "Can you imagine Bill Dundee as a cowardly heel? Never in a million years does he beg off a run." Well, he used to. He used to. That was and Dundee's wife got her hair shaped too. Yes,
he did.
And they actually.
She was great. Beverly was awesome in that. Have you ever seen her? She was brilliant in that.
Yeah.
I think she might have been able to do an interview better than Bill. She was great. Beverly was great.
Some of the greatest matches I've seen between Dundee and Lawler, and if you haven't watched them, everybody deserves to see those matches.
Yeah, those are
just pick one. You can't go wrong.
You can't. They're all great. Do any of you three remember the bullwhip pole matches between Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler? I think I'd seen some of them. I think he let us watch tape because Bill Dundee was another one of those guys like Wrestling 2 that did not want to go to sleep when he first got home. He wanted to watch something before he went to sleep.
Had to watch a movie. Yeah, and not by himself. He could not watch it by himself. You had to sit with him, and that's all right.
All right, let's see. Michael Barr said Jack Lord is a great legend wrestler as well.
Yeah, there's another check I got to cut.
Well, we will agree with that. That nobody, and I'm telling you, could get as much heat as Jack could get. He could get those people so riled up, so upset, and then when he got his tail kicked, the people would go nuts. And that was the
way to do it. That's the way you do it.
If you think I can get heat in the ring, you should talk to my ex-wives.
Richard Hood said Dundee booking to Mid-South turned that territory around. Yes, he did.
Sure did.
All right, let's see. All right, it's time now for us to talk about another great in professional wrestling. Not a wrestler, but let's talk about Jimmy Hart. This man was the most entertaining person on Memphis television by far.
Anywhere. He was awesome. In fact, I think that when they brought him to Georgia, he flipped that thing around. I mean, he brought something completely new and fresh, and he's one of a kind. Really, nobody matches him. Nobody matches him for what he can do. And he was into it 100%. My understanding is he would set up appearances at like grocery stores, and people would be lined up for down the road, and he would sit there and tell people, "I don't really think you need to buy that. You need to probably put that back on the shelf because it's obvious you've eaten too many of those." That kind of thing in the grocery store. But for whatever reason, he packed them, and it was just him. It was nobody else. It was just him doing these appearances. And he, like I said, he was into it 100%. He was into it.
Jimmy Hart, I always thought every time he couldn't get his something out, maybe he was talking to his interviews. Oh, I'm so excited I can't even talk.
That's right.
I've stowed that one.
Yes.
You know it. The people know it. Everybody knows it. He would say all the time, and I would use that one all the time. I still use that to my wife today. I'll tell her the people know it, you know it, and everybody knows.
That's right.
Jimmy just had that something, and from the beginning he had that something. And to my knowledge, I'm not for sure. I believe he did. I think he was a wrestling fan, but he was part of the Gentrys. He's actually singing when Jimmy Hart, and I remember Jerry Lawler told a story about going to talk to Jimmy Hart. It was Bill Dundee and it was Jerry Lawler together. They went to a nightclub where Jimmy Hart was singing. And he said, well, what are we, Bill? I remember Bill saying, well, what are we going to this thing for? He said, well, we're going to talk to this guy. And he said, we sat down, he did his singing. We watched the whole thing. And then that was the night that he talked Jimmy Hart and coming and being his manager. But you know what? Do y'all believe, would Jimmy Hart became the big name there if Jerry Lawler didn't break his leg in a touch, I think it was a touch football
game.
Would Jimmy Hart have came as much of a big manager without that? With Jerry Lawler gone?
I think he probably could have. It would have took longer. But Jimmy had that talent that you couldn't deny. He was going to break through at some time or the other. This was just an opportune time.
And the main thing was he had to be away from Lawler to be able to shine, because Lawler was not letting him talk in the beginning. He was more or less running around, with his belt, that CWA belt. That belt.
Did you not?
I don't mean to laugh.
Don't you mean?
I remember seeing that. I just watched some of these. They pop up on my YouTube, and I just watched some of those, and I thought it was odd. Why didn't Jerry let him talk? But maybe he was just learning the business at that point.
You know what? I'll tell you one of the things that really got him heat and really did get some major heat with Jerry Lawler. He came out on television, and I believe he gave the crown, if I'm not mistaken, to Precious Paul Ellery, and made him the new king of wrestling. And I don't know that, from what I've heard, from stories that I heard, Jerry Lawler did not know that they were going to do that on television. He did not know they were going to give a crown to somebody else and call them the new king of wrestling. And that was just something that Jerry Jarrett did. And man, that would have had to be in the telephone call. He probably called the TV station and asked for Jerry Jarrett right then and said, "What are y'all doing?" He said, "Well, you're out for a year." Actually, he wouldn't have been out for a year, but I think he came back and wrestled with his cast on and hurt himself again, and it took another.
Is that the cast match they had with Killer Krupp, Carl Krupp?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And then they come out. I remember Krupp coming out. He said, "Notice that there's nose on my head. Notice it's because we were suckering the king, and now he's injured again," or something to that degree. They kind of worked it in.
Now, I heard business was bad during that time. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. You would think it would have been pretty good, because Jimmy Hart's stuff was just great during that point in time. And the stuff in championship wrestling from Georgia, going out and telling Ole Anderson, just staying Ole, and he was out there on the show, and they were selling out with the New York Assassins against Thunderbolt Patterson, Ole Anderson, and it didn't have anything. It had to do with Jimmy Hart. Yeah, and I think he wanted a certain amount of money, and they wouldn't want to give it to him. That was crazy. I would have gave Jimmy Hart $1,500 a week in a heartbeat to stay there, because you're two guys nobody even knew. They didn't.
I'll just tell you, before Hart got there, that show was as boring as all get out. He was for me. It was the only reason to watch. He was the only reason to watch, and then as he got, then it expanded to the others and made them interesting to watch. But up to that point, those other people. And then, remember the replacement? Well, oh my, they had the replacement with I forgot his name.
J.R. Hogg, I believe it was.
J.R., that's right. He come in with the hat, and it was like, no, you're not. And he said, "I'm not going to be beat up like some of these other wrestlers, like this other manager that they had around here." And he said, "That's all right, because nobody wants to see you get beat up, because nobody wants to see you." Period. It was just not good.
Hey, I want to ask y'all a question, and if people have not seen his Memphis stuff, and if you've only seen his WWF stuff, he was great in WWF, but that's not where he shined, though.
No, I agree. They didn't let WWF did not let Jimmy be Jimmy. He was kind of a shadow. He was like the managers were at the time. They were kind of just sign of a secondary thing that accompanied the wrestlers to the ring. But Jimmy, when he got there, at first, all the managers were not going to the towns. All they would do is make TV, and that's it. When he got there, he said, I don't just want to go to the TV. I want to go to the shows as well. And so he was one of the first that started going to the towns.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing comments about Jimmy Hart before we move on?
He will be at the Superstars Fan Fest in Rome, Georgia. I think it's October the 24th. That's a Saturday night.
Oh my goodness!
So people can go see Jimmy Hart there. And I think you sent me, and we'll start talking about that tomorrow night. We'll tell everybody about that. We'll give them all the information on that show tomorrow night. Let's make sure now that we are not seeing anybody about the insiders. Let's see if we don't want to miss anybody. Stuart Kemp said, watching some of the old Memphis wrestlers, the ring seemed to be incredibly loud and bouncy. How was the ring constructed?
You know what? It's funny because I think the same thing about what we're going to start talking about on Thursday. I always thought Jim Crockett's ring sounded very loud, and when the guys hit the ropes, they kind of rattled, and that's specifically for them. That's only their production. That was not for anywhere else. And I agree that match was extremely loud. I mean, that ring was extremely loud. I'm not sure how it was constructed or who built it, and not sure who built the rings over in. Dad said something at one time. There's different sounds between an all wood ring and compared to a ring that's got steel, a mixture of steel and boards. So
and a lot of rings back then, some of them used plywood, some of them used boards, and so there's different sounds, different rings. The height of the ring has a lot to do with how it sounds too.
Oh, by the way, Daniel Lang said Lawler breaking Hart's jaw for saying they shoot horses with a bad leg. Yes, that happened right after. Yes, I forgot that. He did break his jaw on purpose because they did that deal. I'm thinking it was Paul Ellering. It could have been someone else, but that was some.
I believe it was Paul Ellering.
That was some legitimate heat when he did say they shoot horses with a bad leg. Because go back and watch it. I think it's available on YouTube. That is on there. He tells them that. And he actually did get mad about that. So, some of the shoot things in wrestling, there was one of the shoot things that happened in pro wrestling. Retro Rob, the only time I hated Jimmy Hart was when he was a face with Hogan. But that was mostly because I hated Hogan.
I think that any time you put Jimmy Hart in a supporting role, you're wasting his talent. He needs to be upfront and personal and let him do what he's going to do. In fact, later on in our Mid-South review, we were given a choice, and we'll talk about this. We were given a choice of who do you think needs to come to Mid-South? And our choices were Akbar, Oliver Humperdinck, and Jimmy Hart. Guess who we chose? And then guess who they chose? I think we ended up being right on that.
All right, guys, it is now time for us to talk about Jerry Lawler, the early career of Jerry Lawler.
And I've seen some of the early stuff. It is great. It is great.
Tremendous stuff that he did back in those days. I will tell a quick story. I won't tell as long of a story that Jerry Lawler told on one of his podcasts or an interview that he had. But the short version of this is Jerry Lawler has his first match, and he decides that he wants to do a move where the actual tag team, I think it was maybe the Medics, just another team because it was an outlaw group that he was working for down from Memphis. And he wanted to do this thing where he saw this guy where he threw him out of the ropes, and he never hooked the ropes or nothing, and just went out. And the guy would hit that, and they carried him out. And he said it was great. It was great. He thought, I want to do this in the match. I just want to do it, but I don't want to be carried out or nothing. I just want to do this and try to do it. So he has this match. He's never had, he's never even been in the ring. So he decides he wants to do that. So they go and they take him, whoop, and they throw him outside the ring. The same way that guy did. He don't touch nothing. He said the only thing he remembers is hearing a loud thump. That's how I don't remember nothing else. Just a loud thump. he said, and he said, all I want, he said, I wake up and I'm being fanned by this. He's waking up. He says, oh, what happened? He said, his partner, and I can't remember who his partner was, but his partner looked at him and said, well, he said, well, you did that little thing you wanted to do, but that was the last thing you did. He said, the match was finished. But if you get to listen, Jerry Lawler tells the story, and he tells a long drawn out story how he got there and everything. But it's a very interesting story. Rodney, do you got some of the matches from Jerry Lawler?
I do. We start in May of 1971. This is actually May 15th, 1971, at the Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga. Jerry Lawler defeats Mac York, and then in the auditorium, in June the 17th of 1971, he's back at Memorial Auditorium. Jerry Lawler defeats Tony Mendoza. Then at Tri-State Wrestling in Anniston, this is on November the 4th of 1971 at the City Auditorium in Anniston. It's Ramon Perez and Gary Martin versus Jerry Lawler and Steve Lawler. Is that the Steve Lawler that we all know?
No, Steve the Brawler Lawler.
There is a picture of him.
Oh, nope, that's not the same one either.
Yeah, there is a.
All right, that's Jerry Lawler and Steve Lawler. They're the champions, and of course the winners unknown. This was for the Tri-States Tag Team titles. Then in a show in Florence at the Armory in Florence, Alabama, on January the 13th, 1972, Jerry Lawler defeats Joe Correa. January the 20th, 1972, City Auditorium, Anniston, Alabama. Jerry Lawler and Steve Lawler defeat Hillbilly Chuck and the Scuffling Hillbilly Vic in a 2 out of 3 fall match. Tri-State Wrestling again back in Anniston at the City Auditorium on February 3rd, 1972. It's Hillbilly Chuck, Scuffling Hillbilly Vic, and Buddy Wayne against Jerry Lawler, Steve Lawler, and Burhead Jones, one of my favorites, and winners unknown in that one. February the 10th, 1972, the Armory in Florence, Alabama. Jerry Lawler defeats Lynn Rossi by countout. Then February 16th, 1972, at the Fairground Sports Arena in Nashville, Tennessee, Bearcat Brown and Roy Lee Welch versus Jerry Lawler and Sir Clements. The winner in that match was unknown. I'd love to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen that one. That would have been awesome. It was February 22nd, 1972, back at Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga. Alex Medina and Roy Lee Welch defeated Jerry Lawler and the Green Shadow. And then at the Armory in Florence, Alabama, on February 24th, 1972, Kevin Sullivan defeated Jerry Lawler by countout. March the 16th, 1972, at the Armory in Florence, Alabama, Robert Fuller and Kevin Sullivan defeated Jerry Lawler and Jim White. So apparently they start to team in 1972, Lawler and Jim White, one of the legendary teams. At this point, is Sam Bass with them at this point, Brent?
I believe it is not Sam Bass at this time. I believe it may be what's the other guy that managed at the time?
Well, Sir Clements was earlier, and he's one.
It may have been Sir Clements or Jim Kent.
Jim Kent, okay, yeah, because Jimmy Kent did do a lot of managing. All right, so now we are March the 30th, 1972, back at the Armory in Florence, Alabama. Joey Rossi and Eddie Marlin defeated Jerry Lawler and Jim White. And then we come up on April the 5th, 1972, at the Fairgrounds Sports Arena in Nashville. It's Kevin Sullivan, Cora Combs, and Darling Dagmar defeating Jerry Lawler, Donna Cristianello, and Diamond Leo. I love Diamond Leo. I remember her from way back. She was awesome. And the match lasted 38 minutes. It was 2 out of 3 fall match. And of course, the Cora Combs Sullivan and Darling Dagmar is the winner in that one. Then we come to April the 8th, 1972, Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga. Pepe Lopez and Jerry Lawler versus Lynn Rossi and Tony Charles. Winner was unknown. That was for the Mid-America Tag Team Championship. And then we are April the 10th, 1972, Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. Jerry Lawler and Jim White defeated Jimmy Kent. There was apparently not his manager, unless they fired him. There might have been a situation where they fired him. We don't know. Against Jimmy Kent and Eddie Marlin. All right, so again, Jerry Lawler, Jim White defeating Jimmy Kent and Eddie Marlin. Then on April the 17th, 1972, back at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Jerry Lawler and Jim White defeated Kevin Sullivan and Eddie Marlin. Then they're at the American Legion Arena, Blytheville, Arkansas, on April 18th, 1972. Eric Von Bronner versus Jerry Lawler, and that was a 2-out-of-3 fall match. Winner unknown. And then back at the Armory in Florence, Alabama, April the 20th, 1972. One of my favorites, Bearcat Brown versus Jerry Lawler. Ended up without a winner because of a time limit draw. And then we come April the 27th, 1972, Mid-South Coliseum. I think my aunt's favorite, Oni Wiki Wiki. Tommy Gilbert and Tojo Yamamoto defeated Jerry Lawler, Jim White, and this time Jimmy Kent in that 2-out-of-3 fall match. Well, things.
Well, maybe they had it. Maybe they had it. They had an argument.
Reconciliation.
They got it. He was going to team with him, and now he turned on him again. And then they brought Oni Wiki Wiki.
Oni Wiki Wiki. Yes.
Oni Wiki Wiki.
We love that name.
I'm telling you, there needs to be a wrestler called Oni Wiki Wiki.
Oni Wiki Wiki. I loved Oni. That was, I think it was my Aunt Jane's favorite wrestler, Oni Wiki Wiki. And Tojo was one of my grandmothers. She liked them all.
Well, let's show a couple of photographs of Jerry Lawler. Here is a very young photograph of Jerry Lawler, right at his beginnings. Let's throw this picture up right here. It says Jerry and Steve Lawler after a tough defense of the Tri-State Championship belts in Montgomery, Alabama. And so this is this guy right here. That is the same guy, right? I mean, this guy's
like it.
He's all busted up.
He's all busted up. Somebody beat him up for the
Somebody whooped him.
All right, now
okay. There's Jimmy Kent, right?
That's Jimmy Kent managing
Jim White and Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler. Now, that could have been later on because Lawler looks like he's gained a lot of weight at this point. So from this picture here.
Yeah.
So but it has to be
older one, looks like.
Here is a photograph of one of his early matches at the TV station, Jerry Lawler.
Wow.
This is when they allowed him to start wrestling on television.
There was a time that he could not wrestle on TV.
I don't think they wanted to wrestle.
Is that the time he got thrown out of the ring and he couldn't continue?
No, I think they did that after. I think they allowed him because at the same time when he was doing, Jerry Lawler actually worked for Jackie Fargo and some other guy in a they had a little radio station. Jackie Fargo and some other guy. And he actually was like a nighttime disc jockey for Jackie Fargo and this guy. And Jackie finally found out he was working for the Outlaw Group. So he told him,
I remember that story, yeah.
So he helped him get a job. He actually helped him get a job to actually wrestle. So here's another photograph. Will be later on. But you see Jim White there, and I don't know who the opponents are. And I don't even know if this was in Memphis or this is in Alabama. I'm not for sure. Here's another picture of a very young. Now he's a champion by this, so I bet this might be in Alabama. I would say maybe this is in Tri-States area because here's a picture of him right there.
I love that belt.
Yeah, that's a beautiful belt. But every one of them belts looked the same back then.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Everybody had the same. Here he is doing his strutting with his belt. So I'm thinking this.
That looks like he just stole a match and he's out of here. That's what it looks like, grabbing his belt and getting out.
The Stars of Tomorrow. There you see Jerry Lawler whips Jim Golden. Good little picture of them right there. And I'm going to have to read that story. I've never read that story. So I'll have to read that story one day. Here he is, Jerry Lawler, Jim Kent, and Jim White. So Jim Kent did manage him at some point. So they must have done a little swerve job when he kept on going back and forth there. That must have been what was going on during that time. Because by this, there's Sam Bass.
There you go.
Sam Bass with Jerry Lawler and Jim White. So at some point, and I would say during this time frame that we're talking about right now, it was there. Here is a Tuesday, October 24th, Johnson City Recreation Center. Main event, grudge six-man tag, Jerry Lawler and Jim White and Sam Bass against Cowboy Frankie Lane, Vic the Hillbilly, and Kevin Sullivan. Hey, was that the Scuffling Hillbillies, or was that just their version of the Scuffling Hillbillies? Do y'all know?
That I don't know. There's another one, a big-time match right underneath that. Ron and Don Wright against Bearcat Brown and Dennis Hall. What a match. I'd love to see that.
Jerry Lawler, from the beginning, was great. And we will pick up after that. We'll pick up after April of 1972, the next time we talk about Jerry Lawler, because there is so much. Jerry Lawler's career spanned. We know he's spanning 50 years in professional wrestling. And so this is just the beginning.
Yeah, we'll have parts 11, 12, 13, 27.
All right, before we get back to the insiders, Rodney, let's talk about Mid-South Wrestling episode 2.
You got me. Wait a second. I got me flip it back. We are, yes, episode 268. We open up the program with Bill Watts and Boyd Pierce, and the Louisiana State Fair is that particular week. And this would be in around October the 25th, 1984. And again, 1984, one of the biggest years ever for Mid-South Wrestling. In the beginning of the show, Bill Watts announces that Terry Taylor would be off for the next month. Apparently, something had happened with his spleen. I kind of remember the story. Don't know the details, but I do remember Taylor being gone due to some incident with his spleen. He talks about the rules for just a second, Bill Watts does, and he says, some people are getting upset with us because of the way we're enforcing the rules, but we have to do it, and we have to do it. Then they have an interview with Steve Williams about the football helmet match that he's going to have with Jim Duggan later on in the hour. And then Watts talks about Duggan's football career, and then they have the answer interview with Jim Duggan. We go to a break. We come back with an interview with Akbar and Buddy Landell, and Akbar is making his announcement that he is back. And he's going to create a brand new army, and he's here to take over like Mid-South, like no time before. And Landell is joining Akbar's army in that, and Buddy Landell is promising that he's going to deliver a special prize, and that's something that's been building for quite some time. Bill Watts has alluded to it, kind of hinted about it a few times through the match. Then in the first match, we had the missing link against Mike Jackson. Skandar Akbar had the headbutt from the second rope. Link, we went over that. Well, Jack, what do you think about that one?
I thought it was a good match. I love watching Missing Link. I thought he was such a great character, and that physical conditioning, man, he was a wrestler apart from most back then.
It was a monster. Brent, what do you think about that?
Oh, I loved it. Everything he did was great. And when he did that thing off that top rope and hit Mike Jackson in the back of that head, man, that looked awesome. It looked just like he killed him.
It was fantastic. Well, as I said, Missing Link over in that one. No really surprise. Mike Jackson, always great in everything he does. In the second match, it's our football helmet match with Steve Dr. Death Williams and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And Steve Williams, I think at this moment, comes into his own. He does one of the best interviews, forceful interviews that I think he's done since he's been there. He is asking, we're waiting on Jim Duggan. He's been wanting him all this time. He's got his football helmet on. Come on, Duggan, where you at? And then Duggan, we're still waiting. Waiting. And then from the front of the building comes Ted DiBiase. And DiBiase says, I just had a fight in the parking lot. Jim Duggan attacked me in the parking lot, but I was able, because of my tremendous conditioning, was able to sidestep him and hit him with one punch and knock him out. So he's a drunken bum laying out in the parking lot. So he's not going to be here for this match. And I got you, Steve Williams, a souvenir. So he hands him the football helmet, Duggan's football helmet. And he said, well, and I'm just here to tell you I'm back. I'm here to stay. And if you want Duggan, he's out there in the ditch somewhere. So they leave. Bill Watts says, well, we're going to have to go to a commercial. We'll try to find out and try to investigate. They come back from commercial. Bill Watts says, we have found Jim Duggan. He's in pretty bad shape. We're going to get more about this a little bit later on in the program. So now we have an interview with Cornette. The Rock and Roll Cornette says that the Rock and Roll up to this point has refused to wrestle them. So now he's got a check. He sent to his mother, and she forwarded a check for $25,000 for the Rock and Roll Express for any type of match that they would like to have. And so the Rock and Roll Express is able to pick the match, any stipulation. So it comes back so now the Cornette has made his offer for the $25,000 versus the Mid-South Tag Team Championship held by the Rock and Roll Express. We come back with match number 3. It's Butch Reed against Brickhouse Brown. Jack, I'll throw it to you at this point.
I think we've lost his audio.
Oh, it was so amazing that we lost Jack's audio. Hold on, Jack. You'll catch up here in just a second. Brent, let me pass off to you real quick. What do you think's going on here in this match?
All I know is Ron West. He's coming back. I see that.
I see. Yeah, he was kind of.
He'll come back.
Okay, back.
I found that Ronnie West, the referee of the match, was very upset during this match with Brickhouse Brown. He was telling them, "Get back in there, get on him, get on him,
get him." He was wanting to be aggressive. He was wanting to do something and then do his little celebration. Oh yeah. It started from the time that he went out to the floor. And when he went out to the floor, they were yelling at him. Him and Reed both, I noticed, was yelling at Brown right off the bat. Grab his leg. And it was Jack. What was your impressions of this match here? Oh, he froze.
He froze up again.
It was so amazing. Anyway, in the end,
am I froze again?
Are you there? Oh, we're sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of those things, technical difficulties. We try to get you.
I'm in and out.
Okay.
I'm
there you
in
go.
and
You're
out.
back.
You're back now. All right, Rodney, go ahead.
Anyway, Brown in the end misses. Brown misses a top rope.
Yeah, it was.
We lost him again.
Oh, yeah, well, that happens. Well, anyway, in the end, it's Brown missing a drop kick from the top, from the second rope, and then it is Butch Reed moving in with the gigantic gorilla slam, and then we go to commercial, come back. It's Jim Duggan all busted up against the barricades, and he makes the announcement that he doesn't know what happened. All he knew, he didn't know who all had hit him. He thinks that a blackjack was involved, and that the only person that he could recognize in all of this was Ted DiBiase. And so DiBiase is definitely back, and of course he describes Duggan describes this whole situation. Britt, would you like to comment on this?
I just thought the thing, even back then, even at the time it was going on, I remember this was in 1983. I was probably 13, 14 years old, and I just said, man, this is the hokiest interview I've ever heard in my life. It just did not work for me. I'm sorry. It's if I was one of the hosts on America's Got Talent, I would have given him the X on that one. I wasn't a fan of that at all. Jackie, you're around. Did you see that interview? I think he's still.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I agree. I agree on the interview. I didn't buy it either.
Yeah, it was it was a little much. They would have been better off by sending the camera out in the parking lot, as far as I'm concerned, and leaving the description of what happened to next week for Discovery for next week. But people like to take ideas and make them their own, and this is what happens when you allow people to take ideas and make them their own. Then match number 4, one of the most controversial, talked about matches, I think, involving our good friend and one of our favorites here, the big cat, Ernie Ladd. This match is for the North American Heavyweight Championship, the champion, Magnum TA against Ernie Ladd. And I'm going to tell you right now, during the match, and I don't understand it. I will never, for the life of me, understand it. But every time there's an important match, Bill Watts decides it is opportunity to talk about everything except what's going on in the ring. And I cannot, and I will never understand that as long as I live. It basically devalues what you're trying to get in the ring at the point. But that's my opinion. Anyway, in the match, Magnum TA and Ernie Ladd going back and forth. TA ended up with a second rope drop kick. And as he goes in to hit Ladd with the drop kick, Ladd falls back into Fergie. Fergie goes down. And then he goes for the pin. TA has him down for the pin. He gets the referee. Referee counts 1, 2. He powers out. Ladd kicks out. Then it's TA grabbing a headlock. Ernie Ladd shoots him into Carl Fergie. Fergie goes on the outside of the ring. While the referee is out, Ernie Ladd goes into his tights, pulls out a rope, and begins to strangle and put Magnum TA out. Our father, Ron West, is down to help Carl Fergie. And while this was all happening, finally Ladd takes the rope off. The referee backs. It's at this point, it's not Dad. It wasn't Carl. It was Dad getting in the ring, Ron West. Gets in the ring. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Ernie Ladd picks up Magnum TA and then acts like he stumbles and he falls on top of him. The referee goes down 1, 2. Ladd kicks out. Then he comes up and drops 2, not 1, but 2 double leg drops on TA. And then he goes for the pin. 1, 2, 3. And Ernie Ladd becomes the new North American champion. And the people in that arena and that Irish McDowell Boys Club is not happy. They are not happy. But Ernie Ladd, in fact, is the new North American champion. Jack, what did you think about this? All right.
I think my internet's dying.
Your internet needs live support. Brent, what did you think about this?
I loved it. Everything about it. The finish was magnificent. Everything about the whole match I enjoyed. It was well put together. The match made sense. Tremendous, just tremendous match. I would like to see a match like that today. It was just great.
And it took months. Ladd did not just come right in and knock him off. He took a minute. It took a while, and he used his smarts, as they said, to pull that off. Absolutely fantastic. Next, we have an interview with the Rock and Roll Express, and as previously talked about, the $25,000. So now Rock and Roll has their special stipulation that they want to do. So they have a straight jacket, and they're going to put to keep Cornette. Cornette cost him the match in the cage match where they had to leave Mid-South. He's been interfering. So they're going to put Jim Cornette in a straight jacket, and there's no way he's going to get out. So Robert Gibson decides they're going to demonstrate how you can't escape, and he can't pull out anything, and he's going to put the straight jacket on Robert Gibson. Well, the people, as he's latching it up, the people in the audience are already screaming, "No, don't do it, don't do it," because as he gets him all latched up, here comes Bobby and Dennis and Cornette, and they do a number on Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton. They have, of course, Robert is all tied up. Cornette's laying on top of him, slapping him in the face. Dennis Condrey pile drives Ricky Morton, and then from the top rope goes Bobby Eaton. Dennis Condrey puts him in the Boston Crab and a knee drop off the top rope from Bobby Eaton. The people are hot. Finally, we have the wrestlers coming in to make the save, and they're out of there. just absolutely fantastic. And again, they've been in for it. They have been in for it. There's no doubt about it for that particular night. Jack, can you comment on this one?
Well, I can try. I thought it was awesome. I loved everything they did.
I will tell you, this was my story because we were there. We were there live while it was going on, and I can remember what the fans was saying in the crowd because we were sitting with them, and I can remember them going, "How stupid are the Rock and Roll Express?" I mean, that was what they were saying.
Yeah, they said that's dumb. Yeah, they were saying it.
Stupid. This was stupid of them. They were saying, "Don't do it." They were yelling at them, "Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it." I just remember that as being a major thing. They would say, "Oh, these people are just stupid," and it did not, it did not return the big crowds like they had before. I think because that was such a crazy thing to do. I mean, I understood why they did it. They was trying to get heat and build it up and make it.
Well, and then they had the matches. I don't know how he did it, but Cornette was actually put in the straitjacket, and then actually he was put on a cable and strung from the top of the arena. And he had to sit there, and he said his legs would go to sleep while he was in that straitjacket. I would have suffocated. I would have absolutely suffocated and had a panic attack, because we're not talking about he was a little bit off the ground where he could see the ring. No, he was way up. They put him way up. I remember the show at the Rapides Parish Coliseum in Alexandria, and I mean, he was not low, and he kept saying that he had to put that. And for me, I would have stuck somebody else in that mask since he was wearing the mask, and have him come from the opposite side of the building. But that's just me. But that's because when you're watching these things, you are inspired. This stuff is not. This is well thought out, and it inspires you to also think. And that was what, even back then, that's what we thought should happen.
Yes.
Then in match number 5, it's the return of Ted DiBiase with the General Skander Akbar to face Johnny Mantell. Jack, what did you think about the Ted DiBiase Johnny Mantell match?
I thought it was a good match. I really kind of disappointed that he comes back in and puts my hero Johnny Mantell down, but it was a good match. It was really, really put together well. Brett, what do you think about this one?
Oh yeah, it was a tremendous match. Ted DiBiase, everything he does is just spot on. Everything, there's nothing he does is bad. And so great match. It was just a great match, and it really didn't even hurt Johnny Mantell, because just the way they did it was it got them both over. So I like it.
Yeah, in the end, it was Johnny Mantell going for a monkey flip in one corner. He monkey flips Ted DiBiase out of the corner, goes for a second monkey flip. DiBiase catches the ropes. It's Mantell going back on his head. DiBiase comes down, drops a fist on his face, and then moves into the figure 4 leg lock as Ted DiBiase. They end the show with DiBiase at the desk with the mic, telling everybody that he's here. Of course, DiBiase always great. Next week on the program, we're going to have the missing link against Magnum TA, and Mid-South Television title match, Adrian Street against Bill Dundee. Tremendous show.
Yeah, I thought it was magnificent. And by the way, Terry Taylor had a wreck, if you remember, and the seatbelt is what messed up his spleen or something, and that's how he got hurt, and he was out for a month, because I can remember saying, well, this is the one time he'd been better off he didn't have the seatbelt on.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. He might have went through the windshield if he didn't have it.
This is true, but because that had to be very much powerful
impact,
not to impact him, and it messed his spleen up. But I do remember him having a wreck, and it was actually the seatbelt that did it. I do remember that story. Yeah, pretty good. Daniel Lang asked us if we're not going to be doing we will be doing the Monday Night Live, but we are going to start moving everything to YouTube in within the next few months. We are going to start moving everything over to that. It's just it's just a better fit for video. We found that Facebook is not always a good fit for all the videos that we want to do. So we're going to move a bunch of it over there. But we will be doing the Monday night show live on Facebook. But the Tuesday and Thursday, will be moved to YouTube.
And it will be live on there as well.
It will be live. It will be live, but we just we've got to move a lot of our content over to YouTube. It's just a better video platform. We have found that it's a better video platform. So, but we will be over there. So make sure you subscribe. It's very easy.
And we'll remind you where we're at.
We will remind you where we're at all times. Rodney, any lasting comments? Any comments we need to say before we leave?
No, there's a lot of great comments from our people who are talking about the Rat Pack, and of course Bobby and Dennis. Let's just say, no matter who they brought in after Bobby and Dennis, there was no one that could take their place. No one, and they tried, but no one accomplishes what Bobby and Dennis does.
Yep. No, somebody asked who the missing link was, and they said Billy Robertson. I think it was Dewey Robertson, wasn't it?
Dewey Robertson.
Dewey Robertson, that's right.
It was Dewey Robertson, not Billy Robertson. Chris Vick said great storytelling. Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey, they say everybody says a great wrestler. Mickey Mayfield said Cornette looks stupid in the mask.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're going through this.
He wore that mask, it seemed like, for 2 months. His hair must really grow slow.
He did have it on for a long time.
He had it on forever, seemed like. Mask.
Glenn Allen said Dennis Condrey, Bobby Eaton, and said thank you, Bobby and Dennis. Great matches with those guys. And I'm sorry if we didn't get to everybody's, but we are running out of time. Jack, any ending comments before we leave?
No, there's a new feud with Jimmy Cornette, if anybody wants to follow that. He is not much of a fan of AEW, and there's a tag team over there. I won't go into specifics, but he really goes out of his way to run those guys down. And supposedly, according to a post today, those guys have been given permission by the AEW to now be known as the new Midnight Express.
I always find that
remakes
are always better than the original.
I didn't hear about this one. This is going to be good.
I don't know if that's a rib on their part or if it's actually going to come through. I don't know. I don't know about that.
All right, folks, if you're watching us on Facebook, like and share our page. We're over 10,000 insiders are a part of our weekly shows, and we do appreciate it. Also, YouTube, over 800 subscribers to it, and we have some big things scheduled for YouTube. So there's a reason why we're wanting to move a lot of stuff to YouTube, and 2021 it'll maybe come more to light sometime maybe May or April, somewhere around there in 2021. Why everything's trying to be moved to YouTube. Guys, I want to thank you, Jack Lord. Thank you, Rodney West, and thank you, the insiders. Without you, we could not make this possible, and we really and truly love each and every one of you for being a part of our show each and every week. All right, for those of you who like to visit us and go, and as we go through SmackDown review, we're going over to YouTube.
It's going to be exciting.
You can
do not miss it. It's going to be beyond imagination.
I slept through half of it, but we're going to review on YouTube in just a moment. Go there. Come on. All right, folks. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.